Whistleblower X. There he is, ladies and gentlemen. Or, as I like to call him, the kidney. No, I don't actually call him that. I'm just fucking around. Was sitting in front of Comer's committee today. And I have to say, I watched, let's see, I watched, 3 hours of it, whatever, literally since the last time I had just enough time to shower. The rest of the time I was watching this hearing, the entirety of it. And let me just, spoiler alert for anybody who hasn't watched it. It's bullshit. It will not amount to a hill of beans. It's exactly what I said it was. It's a waste of fucking time. It's literally, it seems that it all boils down to Shapley, who's sitting right there, who was the guy we've already seen before. The Delaware Attorney General said that he can get special attorney status as opposed to special counsel status. And that as the attorney for Delaware, he can ask for special attorney privileges to go after this if he thinks it's worthwhile. But he himself can't ask for a special counsel to be appointed. That's up to the DOJ. And apparently Shapley thinks he heard the word counsel, or he heard the word attorney when he wanted to hear counsel, or vice versa. It's fucking stupid. It literally boils down to that. And he made supposedly contemporaneous notes the day after. And that's what it all boils down to. It's just so, oh God. Yeah, and seriously, it's CSL. And they are just swinging for the fences. Speaking of swinging for the fences, we'll dive right in at the deep end where it's incredibly shallow with Marjorie Taylor Greene.
I would like to let the committee and everyone watching at home that parental discretion is advised.
She holds up a parental discretion thing or whatever, and they don't even cut to it for this thing. And the reason she does this is because she shows non-consensual nudes. It's just gross. But we'll get to it. No, I'm getting ahead of myself.
I would also like to remind everyone that
I'm equally gross, and I fucked around on my husband, and I had sex with a sex guru at my gym, allegedly, and my husband knew, and I cut the shit out of him, which is something that Republicans apparently hate, and Boebert is a little bit B. I'm just saying.
In our oversight committee, we provide oversight into all parts of the federal government, including their Department of Justice and their willingness to prosecute and their unwillingness to prosecute, and whether it's politically motivated.
No, not really. You kind of don't. They have internal reviews that you can ask about in regard to that, but you can't decide whether it's politically motivated because you are a politician. The whole idea. All right. I'm gonna, not my business. I get ahead of myself.
I would also like to say that when evidence and proof of a crime is presented, no prosecution should be denied, no matter who the person is.
Okay, so Jan Sixers, you're fucked, according to MTG, because you all filmed yourself committing crimes and bragged about it, and then threatened your own relatives if they turned you in.
To the whistleblowers today, I thank both of you for your courage to come to the committee today and your commitment to truth.
Yes, it must be heartbreaking being called an asshole and a waste of time. It is terrible in this America. And thank God Donald Trump would never use names like that about people. He'd use worse, but
I have great respect for it, so thank you. I would like to talk with you both about Hunter Biden and his tax write-offs with his law firm, Owasco. I would like to ask...
By the way, can I just point out, before she even gets into this, that this ends up being about a settled tax bill. Honest to God, I don't know about you, but I was promised a foreign influence scheme to pay people to subvert America's standing in the world. Were we not promised that? last week and the week before and every time they've ever brought these idiots in front of the committee, where every single time we are promised this influence peddling scheme must be brought out into the thing and they're for sale and blah, blah, blah. Okay. And when it comes around to MTG, her entire focus is apparently I don't know, maybe this is a fixation that's special to her in particular. I don't know if she has a sex guru she could bring as a witness to talk about sex addiction or any of that stuff. Something that I don't actually think exists. I mean, what, nymphomania, I suppose, is a real thing, but sex addiction itself is like, what are you talking about? Anyways, that's a conversation for another time. All right, here we go.
Mr. Ziegler, when did you start your investigation? In your testimony, it was November 2018. Is that correct? Yes or no?
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you.
November 2018. Now, I don't remember who was president then. We'll have to look it up.
During your testimony with the House Ways and Means Committee, you stated that through bank records, you identified Hunter Biden was paying prostitutes related to a potential prostitution ring. Is that correct? Yes or no?
Well, I mean, are all prostitutes, I mean, were they freelancers? Do we know? Was someone, I guess to answer that question, this guy would have to know that these women had a pimp or a madam or an organization, that they weren't independent contractors. Let's just go with that.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, well then he's just blowing it off. I guess details don't matter.
I've also reviewed those same bank reports, commonly referred to as SARS, Suspicious Activity Reports, and I'm very troubled by them.
Yes, because they require reading.
We read thousands of them in the Treasury. This particular excerpt from a SARS report talks about human trafficking, and in regards to Hunter Biden and Owasco and payments he was making.
And by the way, insofar as I can figure out, she considers a plane ticket for a prostitute to fly to you human trafficking, which at that point, I guess any hooker caught in traffic is trafficking themselves. There's a huge difference. Can we not call all forms of prostitution human trafficking? A willful engagement of this kind of stuff in prostitution is not the same as human trafficking. This idea that it's all that a grown adult engaged in sex work is automatically a slave, which is the assertion here, is fucked up. Or the idea that they use a pimp or a madam or an escort service or something like that for their own safety and protection at the same time is automatically human trafficking. And that she makes no distinction between people who have no intention of being in the sex trade, who aren't interested, don't for any reason at all, don't want to do it, and they are snatched off the street and forced into it, which I think is the distinction. Yeah, but she doesn't, which is interesting because I would, curiously enough, under her definition, because Stormy Daniels her room was paid for by Trump and that he paid her money later, Donald Trump trafficked Stormy Daniels by this definition.
What's even more troubling to me is that the Department of Justice has brought no charges against Hunter Biden that will vindicate the rights of these women who are clearly victims under the law.
Clearly victims under the law. Now, why are they victims under the law in this theory? Well, what would make them victims, and this is only if they are, forced into this and are not willing participants as adults or what have you, but assuming that is the reason they are victims is because the law has been changed to where anyone engaged in sex work is not automatically assumed to be the criminal in a circumstance, because you had a long time ago hookers and johns, and they'd get busted, and the john would go free and the hooker would get busted because she's the one engaging in the criminal activity because she's selling sex. And as our dear friend George Carlin used to say, fucking is legal, selling is legal. Why isn't selling fucking legal? So the reason that technically, if they are engaged in this as and there's a potential crime being committed, if a crime is being committed, it's only that they are unwilling participants as adults in this, which is what would make them trafficked victims. And her assertion that they're automatically victims, the only reason she even has that wording available to her in this law is because Democrats changed the laws around sex work to not assume that the women are automatically the villain in the situation. Yeah. And somebody's saying green shirt. Her shirt isn't green enough for what we need. Believe me, she knows better.
I would like to talk about, in your prior testimony, you stated that the prosecutorial team was investigating violations of the Mann Act. Is that correct, Mr. Ziegler?
That is correct.
Yes, fine. You were investigating it. Cool. Did you find violations of the Mann Act? All right. There is no case in a situation where everything an investigator or a police officer looks into in terms of the potential for criminality is not automatically a charge. And so that's just fucking weird.
Regarding the Mann Act, if a person is transported across state lines for sexual activity...
Transported, as in does not transport themselves, that's a totally different thing. I learned that from Buford T. Justice, actually. That's the Mann Act.
Such as prostitution.
Anyways, Matt Gaetz says what?
That could be a...
Jeff Greenberg says what?
Violation of a federal law. Is that correct?
I actually recently looked at the federal law regarding Mann Act, and I believe that is correct, but I would refer you to the DOJ manual.
Thank you.
Thank you. These are IRS investigators. Can I just say that too? This guy and Shapley, who's there, are IRS investigators. They investigate whether someone has paid taxes on a particular thing, most of the questioning I saw today went so far outside what these guys would even be allowed to investigate as far as what they have to. And the idea that Republicans now want the IRS to be able to investigate like crimes of moral turpitude or any other stuff as opposed to referring them is another thing entirely. All right.
I would like to
show you a half-naked woman. That's just in case you're wondering, that's not a hot dog bun right there. That is a woman's legs and ass and her feet hanging off the edge of a bed she's tanning herself or something when her head's blacked out. They can't really see the way she's holding it up, but she's holding up a plane ticket and 2 pictures of a scantily clad woman.
Sent this to the committee.
And I don't know why you need to show this woman's backside. But okay.
This is showing Hunter Biden paying for a victim's United flight from LA to Dulles. I believe this is a violation of the Mann Act. This is Hunter Biden's.
Yeah, well then bring this up with the DOJ.
This is his proof that he bought the ticket. He bought it for this woman right here. He flew her from Los Angeles.
By the way, if I may, just for the record, when this story came up, this is May 15th, 2023, Rudy Giuliani sued for $10 million by former aide over alleged sexual assault. This is ongoing, by the way. Former associate Rudy Giuliani is suing him for sexual assault, accusing Donald Trump's former personal lawyer of hiring her to fulfill his desire for a sexual relationship. In a civil complaint filed on Monday, seeking at least $10 million. Noelle Dunphy, she said, Giuliani made clear that satisfying his sexual demands was an absolute requirement of her job. This would fall into the trafficking zone of stuff, especially because at this point she was financially under so much weight, and he owed her so much money, and he had so much power as the president of the United States' attorney that this is a great case for controlling someone for using financial means for sex. This is anywhere Giuliani flew Dunphy was sex trafficking. Dunphy said Giuliani promised to pay her $1 million a year and represent her for free in a separate legal matter concerning a domestic abuse thing. He found out she had a controlling ex, and he used that to psychologically manipulate her in the first place, and then didn't follow through. According to Monday's complaint, he forced her to perform oral sex on him throughout their relationship. He went on alcohol-drenched rants that included sexist, racist, and anti-Semitic remarks. Giuliani presented himself as a generous employer and hero, and she recorded him, and he gave her the right to record him. There are recordings. That trial itself, once there's a date, is going to be vomit-inducing. But, and by the way, every single thing she's bringing up in this thing is in the Rudy Giuliani case in spades. Okay, just for the record.
To Washington on June 14th, flew her back to Los Angeles, California.
So was she untrafficked then?
On June 15th of 2018. And I would like to point out that if he was purchasing her a plane ticket for sex and traveling across state lines, do you believe that to be a violation of the Mann Act, Mr. Z?
Well, it's not his jurisdiction as an IRS agent. Here's the question for him. If he flew her there just to have sex with her and flew her back, can you write that off on your taxes? No. Okay, next.
So I can talk to specifically what's in my transcript regarding the Mann Act. So I know we were compiling the information together.
Yes, but Mr. Ziegler, as the law states, by the code of the law, it states.
By the code of the law. The code of the law.
Travel.
He said, hold on one second. Yeah. What did Trump say about that?
We're going to be appointing very pro-crime judges.
No, something else about something being illegal.
Yeah, look.
Paying someone to go across state lines is prostitution. It's a violation of the Mann Act. Let me just move on just one.
No. Well, I mean, I don't know how broad the Mann Act is, but again, paying them to cross state lines for prostitution, I think that's a kidnapping related thing.
One more second here. So when Hunter Biden paid for this woman to do this with him, to travel across state lines.
Can you write that off on your taxes? Inquiring minds want to know.
From California to Washington, D.C.
And also, fuck is wrong with you? Why do you get to show that? Like, because this woman, who she is I'm not going to look her name up, but it's public knowledge. So holding up non-consensual nudes of her, even if you like just blacking out the crack of her ass in private pictures from somebody's phone. Here's what I want to know. How is this not a violation of the reproduction and dissemination of non-consensual nudes? This is not evidence of a crime. There is no crime alleged. The idea that he flew her there, they had sex, and then she flew back. If she got money for hanging out or whatever, I mean, this is essentially how escorts get out of the situation that I think street hookers would have a problem in, is that they can argue he didn't pay me for the sex, he paid me for the time, right? Is that that's how you'd have to ask Trump. He's the expert. But the idea is that you get this fancy trip. The sex is just an ancillary 30-minute part of the whole endeavor. The rest of it is just a big paid vacation, right? That's how they argue it. But it doesn't matter in terms of this, because there is no, you may look into the idea that it was prostitution. You may assume that it was prostitution. You may even accuse both of them engaging in prostitution, but you have no evidence that that's actually what they did, unless you bring both of them in, put them under oath, and say, was this sex for money? In which case, both of them will go, I plead the fifth. And then, short of any other information other than nudes on their phone, or money for a plane ticket, or even, yeah, I gave her money because I liked her as a person. You don't, if you're not there for the exchange of the cash for the service, the case dies. So what this is like the airing of non-consensual nudes for retribution. This is all this is. This is just an act of shaming. That's all this is. This the value of that's all that's actually present in what we're watching. Because a lot of times, when we look at what they bring up or what they say they're bringing up, what she says she's bringing up right here, the cost of the plane ticket and all this stuff. Look, on a logical level, do I think he was paying her to come there to have sex with him and she was taking money for sex? Yes, I do. But that doesn't make either, just because I think that doesn't mean that either I can't prove that in a court of law. And if I tried, I would fail, because all I would have to go on is a bunch of edited pictures that I've seen on television and the assertion by this dimwit, and arguably, I guess, the testimony of both people involved who would go, I refuse to answer on the grounds that it may incriminate me, and that's that. Yeah, other than that, it's a long-distance booty call. That's all we know, right? Also, I think I understand from that black bar over there precisely why Trump hates Hunter Biden so much. It's a pretty big bar, I'm just saying.
On June 15th.
And by the way, what is she serving it as cheese? What's happening there? You know what? None of my business.
This is a violation of the Mann Act.
No, it is not. It is a nude picture. It is video or pictures of someone having sex. This is not a violation of the Mann Act. It is a violation in, hold on, let's see. Laws against revenge porn, non-consensual nudes. Let's see. Know your rights, nonsense. Here you go. Legal voice. Non-consensual pornography is when sexually graphic image of you is shared without your consent. It's also commonly called revenge porn. These images may include images taken during the course of an intimate relationship, including images you took of yourself or shared with the intent to keep them private. I think that qualifies. Hidden recordings, images stolen from electronic devices, that would also qualify. Recordings of sexual acts, etc. This definitely is legal. Yes, sharing or publicizing intimate images without your consent is against both civil and criminal law. Is it illegal? Yes. Washington law states that it is a crime for a person age 18 or older to knowingly disclose an intimate image of you. I'm fairly certain they mean age, right? Yeah, person of age 18 or older, not IQ of 18 or higher, which would, in the case of Marge, would be difficult to assert. I don't have any evidence to the citation needed. The image was obtained under circumstances in which a reasonable person would know or understand that the image was to remain private. The person knows or should have known that you did not consent to the disclosure, and the person knows or reasonably should know that disclosure would harm you. Now, this is true of the hard drive that was floating around. And John Paul McIsaac is the primary guilty party in this, which is why Hunter Biden is suing him. And then once he gets a guilty verdict against John Paul McIsaac, which is coming, and McIsaac will go, I didn't get this. Somebody dropped this shit off. I don't even know if it was yours. That's going to happen too. Once that gets to Giuliani and Mackey, and then she gets called in to say, where did you get copies of this stuff? We got it from, government records or whatever. Well, did the government violate his rights against, unreasonable search and seizure when you were looking at nude photographs of him? Because I got news for you. A picture of you looking like you're smoking crack is not a picture of you smoking crack. And here's an example I will give. This is, let's see. Let's see. There should be a picture in here. There's one in particular. I know we have one somewhere. So how about I'll just put smoke. 1 second. There you go. ladies and gentlemen, I present to you, see if I can bring this one up. This would be a picture of Michael and Brian smoking weed. This is Gail Harold with an herb cigarette in his mouth that is rolled to look like a joint. And this is me not inhaling, which annoyed Gail to no end, and letting the extra thick smoke from this seep out of my face to make it look dramatically like a real photograph of smoking. So insofar as this dipshit is concerned, the idea is, if I may, is that this is evidence of a crime. This picture was taken before weed was legal. Now, it's not pot, but you can't tell that from the picture. And I'm not inhaling, and you can't tell that from the picture. And we're not really smoking. For all practical purposes, we are posing for a photograph. But according to Marjorie Taylor Greene, that is evidence of a crime. See how that shit works? See how, I mean, you could take the entire episode of, you could take any number of episodes of QAF and make the case that there was activities happening that you clearly see happening there that aren't.
This was prostitution.
Well, no, it wasn't. By the way, flying her there and fucking her and flying her back. Again, all you have evidence of in any of this is a long distance booty call.
Let me continue.
Continue to what? Dig a hole where you could be sued for showing non-consensual nudes in an open congressional. I don't get that.
Did Hunter Biden also use his company, Owasco PC, to pay prostitutes?
Can you hold on one second?
Careful now, because those women's names are in that thing, and you're asserting that they are prostitutes. Were they arrested and charged with prostitution around any of these things? Yeah.
Chairman?
Yeah, we'll give you this additional time back.
That he needs to talk to his attorney about this. Were they prostitutes? There you go. Now, this guy is about to accuse the women in these pictures of prostitution, not of being flown someplace, not of being given money by a man friend, not of being recurring booty calls and a guy that just plies women with cash, but prostitution specifically.
So regarding Mann Act violations, what we can do is, given by the statute, we can turn those over to the House Ways and Means Committee, and then they can decide to vote to turn them over to you regarding Mann Act.
Thank you, Mr. Ziegler.
Yeah, that's not the question she asked, and that's how he got out of it.
So talking about Hunter Biden using his company, Owasco PC, to pay prostitutes, this is also a suspicious activity report showing that victim one, the woman that was paid for prostitution, that traveled from California to Washington, D.C., paid for by Hunter Biden. This is an excerpt from a SARS report that we've read in the Treasury, and I think you all have looked at these too, showing that victim one was supposedly an employee of a...
Also, if this is the excerpt, is she changing the name to victim one or the person? Because the SARS report would not assert they were a victim. Right? This is the committee's language. This excerpt, they're calling, she has chosen to call this person victim one, but she's also highlighting it as well.
But I would like to point out, this is not...
Good Lord, woman. What the fuck is wrong with you?
Really what most paralegals do for law firms. And it's very serious that Hunter Biden was paying this woman through his law firm and then writing it off as business tax exemptions. Most people write off...
for the record, you're alleging he engaged in the crime of participating in prostitution. At no point was he arrested or charged with participating in prostitution. So if she was giving him legal advice on how to avoid those charges, well, then by God, she was worth every penny. Apparently, her legal advice is rock solid.
You know, their write off things for their taxes through their businesses, like a meal or say office supplies. But
reams of paper. I'm sorry.
Can you confirm for me that Hunter Biden had written off payments to prostitutes through his law firm, Owasco?
I appreciate the question given by the statute. I'm limited in my testimony today, and I respectfully would need to turn those records over to the House Ways and Means Committee.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Ziegler. One last question. You referred to one of the assistants as West Coast assistant. I believe this is the West Coast assistant. Could you agree with that?
So I can tell you that there were deductions for what we believe to be escorts, and then that $10,000 golf club membership. Yes, that was not a golf club membership. That was for a sex club payment.
That was.
Oh, all right. Well, a sex club isn't an escort or trafficking. Now I've never been a member of a sex club. I am equal parts interested and frightened by the notion, as I think most people are, who have a healthy sex drive and a cautious approach to other human beings. But let's see. Who else goes to sex clubs that we could probably look? Oh, how about this? Elon Musk reportedly denied entry to Berlin Sex Club, boasts a couple of dark rooms, several closable cubbies, unisex bathroom stalls big enough to host a party of 6. He's been on a tour of Berlin sex clubs, but Twitter's largest shareholder may wish he had an edit button for a recent night out. Musk tweeted that he refused to enter the highly exclusive... He refused to enter the highly exclusive, sexually permissive techno nightclub Berghain, but according to reports, he was actually denied entry. He followed Saturday with a stop at the warehouse club Sisyphos, where he was spotted in a Zorro mask and afterwards headed to Berghain. Berghain is the world's most well-known techno club, described as Rolling Stone as infamous for its sex parties and boasting a couple of dark rooms, several closable cubbies, and unisex bathroom stalls big enough to host a party of 6, which are clean with industrial strength project, not used outside of the meatpacking industry. Hello, this is a good place to get your meat packed. But a sex club is not a place. It's not a brothel. I think that's why there's a word brothel. I think, yeah, it's an orgy club, right? Now, again, I don't think the membership, unless you're in porn or the adult industry, or wait a minute. This is a good question, because if a golf membership is written off as a business expense, and that's why he put it as a golf membership. Why are golf memberships where you can golf with other people, which is legal, why is that okay as a write-off for a business expense, but if you take your business clients to fuck clubs, it isn't, because fucking is legal. If it's in a town or a city that allows for places like that to... So maybe he hit it not because it's not a real write-off, but because it's less embarrassing, right? That's the honest question.
For a sex club.
I think a lot more disgusting shit happens on golf courses, for the record.
Payment.
Well, strip clubs would be different, because strip clubs are entertainment venues to go see stuff. I guess you could take somebody if you can take somebody right off movie tickets, you should be able to write off a strip club as well. In that theory, if grown adults can do legal shit, I don't know what the difference is, but I would say that tickets to a sporting event sometimes are not considered write-offs. I don't know. I guess yeah. I get all of this, but anyways, the difference is everybody in the club is a participant in a sex club, but not in a strip club. Some people are there just to be watched. I don't know. At this point, I'm hard pressed to find out why this is more. It's less a crime and more an attempt to use a less embarrassing name for something. You can write off season sports tickets, right? So I guess why is prostitution against the law? I don't see any reason at all. Yeah, I don't either. I mean, I arguably house phones club curious. No, I'm confused by the standards is all. But as a tax deduction, if you can write off one, why can't you write off the other? Right?
Such as this, from Hunter Biden to prostitutes. Also, Mr. Shapley.
Also, oh God, what the fuck?
Come on.
Mr. Chairman, we're at 1 minute and 15.
Hunter recorded multiple sex tapes with a prostitute he had paid for out of his law firm's bank account. And what is, good Lord.
3 seconds over, as long as Ms. Ocasio-Cortez can get equal.
All right.
Thank you, Mr.
Fucking
2.5 minutes expired and went.
I gotta say, that's just gross. What the fuck is wrong with her? Also, again, first of all, put aside the thought that there's an argument for prostitution to be legal and blah, blah, blah. I mean, I'm in Nevada right now, and it's legal somewhere, not others. It's a zoning thing, which I find is fascinating. It's like, I guess the prostitution laws are a lot more akin to parking violations, like red curb, blue curb, whatever. I guess, but beyond the argument of whether or not you believe prostitution is moral or immoral or any of that stuff, the fact that Hunter Biden is filming himself having sex with another human being is, unless it specifically violates the law, like it was evidence that woman was there against her will, that he, held her illegally, forced her to do stuff, blah, 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 like the case that is argued against Rudy Giuliani, for example. At no point is she showing a crime. It's just being gross. She is trying to, this is just it's a shame attack. And I would like to say for the record, in terms of that, I don't think Hunter Biden has anything to be ashamed of. Especially considering he was an addict at the time and blah, 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 like he wasn't married. Yeah. But the point is, that was, whatever, her 5 minutes, right? For the record, at no point did she allude to, in any way, foreign influence peddling at all. Also, the only thing you could take from the videos of Hunter and the pictures of Hunter that she showed was that somebody might be able to get a hold of that stuff, in theory, and use it as compromat against Hunter Biden, or maybe to embarrass his father. Now, since it's already out there, I don't fucking see how that works. Again, you can't be blackmailed by pictures that are public record. So the more stuff she makes public record, the more they're like, yeah, whatever, okay, fine. I mean, let's talk to Pam and Tommy Lee and whoever else you want to bring up that's had a sex tape leak. And I mean, Kim Kardashian, at this point, I don't know why Hunter Biden doesn't put out a skincare line. That said,